Hello, spooky soulmates. Hope you're having a fantastic Friday. If you already didn't know, Friday is our new upload day. So hopefully you're listening to this on the weekend and just enjoying your time off from work and relaxing with us.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Did you like my input there? Yes.
Yes. This is episode 10. Double digits, guys. We're so excited.
Yeah. And we actually just got done recording a live on both Facebook and Instagram. So if you guys didn't see those, go back and be sure to watch. I don't know if the Instagram one will be saved, but the one on Facebook should be. So.
Yeah. I'll try and figure out if I can save the Instagram one for a longer period of time. But
yeah.
You know me in technology.
Yeah. It was so good getting to talk to you guys. And we're probably going to do that periodically in the future as well. So
yeah. Maybe a once a month kind of a thing or something. So, all right. Well, today's episode is all about sleeping.
It's so good. Well, it's like it's sleeping, but actually not sleeping.
No, not really at all. But at the end when we say our outro, I'm going to be so excited because this all pertains to it.
It really does. Like, we felt so silly saying, grab your chamomile tea and all this stuff. And then I was like doing the research. And I'm like, we're justified.
So, Kayla is going to be speaking on, oh my gosh.
Sleep paralysis.
Hello. And I'm going to be talking about lucid dreaming.
Yes.
So, Kayla, why don't you, should we talk about our weeks?
It's been a while. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. How's your week been?
You had to put me on the spot. Okay. So my child is 3.5 and he's going through a really, really rough period where I think he's just trying to figure out his emotions. Mm-hmm. So he's like, you're a bad mom. I wish you'd go away forever. Oh. And me, the gentle soul that I am, is like, fine, be that way, you know? Yeah. So that's been rough and we're potty training still. So that's, I've heard the boys are harder to potty train and I fully believe it now because it's just like you think you've got it. And then the next day they're just peeing in their pants. And so.
Yeah. I don't remember potty training my oldest. I probably blocked it out. But I do remember even as babies, like right now, Gabe is going through, that's my littlest one. He's going through a major daddy phase and it's like, we'll both be reaching our arms out to him and he like surpasses me to get to my husband. And I'm just like, oh, everything's fine. That doesn't hurt.
The knife to the heart.
So, yeah, you know what? It's hard not to take it personally.
Well, the good news is he does it to both of us. So it's not like he's just being mean to mama. He's also being mean to dad. So we can just kind of like compare notes at the end of the day. Be like, well, did he do this to you? Okay, then.
Oh, yeah, that's hard.
So how was your week or weeks off?
Well, I took a vacation and I'm going to say the word vacation in quotes. Loosely. Because I don't care what you say or who you are. It is never a vacation with a small child. It's not. It's a stressful trip. That's what it is. Yeah. So while it was good to see, family and friends and, I'm glad that we did it because of that. I hate traveling with a baby. I hate it. And then my oldest was sick on the trip too. So it was just kind of a nightmare all around. But things are okay now. Coming to a little bit of a chill time this summer and we don't have too much going on, so it's nice to have a little bit of downtime.
Yes, time to actually relax in the summer.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Can't believe there's only 1 month left before school starts back.
Shut your mouth.
I'm personally looking forward to it. No. I'm gonna be that mom.
Early mornings of school are just not my jam. I just don't like them.
Well, I get to roll out of bed, take him to school, and then go back to bed. So that's the plus side. So I'm going to be like that mom that he's holding up the sign of first day back at school, and I'm like jumping for joy in the background.
Aw, that's funny.
Anyway, time to dive into the spookier stuff. So I did research on sleep paralysis because so many of you, specifically the ones that were talking to me about shadow beings,
the Hat Man.
Yeah, the Hat Man have experienced sleep paralysis. And I wanted to know what that was all about. So when I went into it, I wanted to see what the scientific and medical fields say about this. So that's where I started, and I was fully prepared. I always go into it this way. I'm fully prepared to be swayed. Like with the chupacabra, I went in believing that sucker was alive. and came out realizing, he's probably not. So
I forgot to tell you.
What?
One of my friends Candace, who listens to the podcast, she's like, I'm trying to convince my mom that we should all turn our last name into Chupacabra.
Oh, it's such a catchy word. It really
is.
I came across a word today that I did not know existed, and it's my new favorite word. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
Odoriferous.
Does it have to do with something that smells?
I think so, because they were talking about sleep paralysis and things you can experience as it's starting.
Oh.
And one of them was smelling a lot of smells. So they were like, these odoriferous scents. And I'm like, oh my God, I love that word.
Oh.
So
I'll stick that in my back pocket.
I know, right? So anyway, I went into this fully being prepared that this could just be like a mental thing.
Okay.
Like a sleep thing. But I came to a different conclusion, and I'm going to share that with you. So,
I'm excited. Oh my gosh.
What is sleep paralysis? So this dude that, I don't know if he has like a degree or whatever, but his name is Edward Mater. He has experienced it a lot and did a lot of research. So he explains it very well. He says sleep paralysis is characterized by a complete loss of muscle tone, which is called atonia, and an inability to move, which is the paralysis, during the sleep-wake or wake-sleep transition. So it's frequently terrifying because the hallucination, which is what they call them, the dream, is often scary. Usually it's an intruder in the room. And then the second part that's so scary is the state of helplessness because the muscles are paralyzed and unable to react. So you can't just get up and run out of the room. And so then the person starts to think, am I having a stroke? Is something about to murder me? It becomes less scary when the individual understands what it really means. Sleep paralysis is a form of parasomnia. Rare episodes of sleep paralysis may occur in people with no sleep disorder, especially after several nights of sleep deprivation or an irregular sleep pattern. So usually it's tied to somebody who has sleep apnea, anxiety, narcolepsy, some kind of sleep disorder.
Okay.
But it can happen to someone who's just sleep deprived. So I actually have like percentages on that I'll bring up later. But okay, so then frequent sleep paralysis is considered abnormal, and that's when it occurs as part of another syndrome. Okay, so basically a parasomnia is an abnormal sleep-related event or behavior that occurs. So when you go to sleep, you have like the non-REM sleep that you're just kind of like falling into sleep. And you're going slowly. And then for I think that's like the first 45 minutes of when you're falling asleep. And then the next 45 minutes is REM sleep, which is where the dreams start occurring. Okay. So you're in a deep state of sleep. That's where your body's refreshed, which is weird because your brain's working overtime. But so those are the two normal sleep patterns. What happens in sleep paralysis is they overlap.
Oh.
So your body is telling you to wake up. So your brain is conscious. Your eyes might even be open, but your muscles are still paralyzed because that's what happens. Your body is basically trying to protect you from fighting yourself in your sleep or, getting up, walking around. Some people do sleepwalk, but it's trying to protect you from hurting yourself while you're in that deeper sleep. So you're in the deeper sleep, but you're also conscious. And so you're seeing things that are occurring in your dream plane, basically.
Okay.
Let's see. They said that the non-REM parasomnias include the following disorders. So these are the things that it can occur. Confusional arousals. So you're starting to wake up and you don't know where you are.
Okay. I just didn't know where that was going.
Oh, don't worry. It goes there. Sleepwalking, sleep terrors, which a lot of toddlers have because they're starting to go into that deeper sleep and that once they hit like 1 or 2. So night terrors, teeth grinding is part of it.
Oh, I do that.
No. Restless leg syndrome and periodic limb movements. So if you start to fall asleep and you flinch, that's part of it, which that actually happens because your heart rate slowed too fast and your body thought you were dying. So it's like, wake up.
Oh no.
Yeah. So, and then this one's a little awkward, but I'm sure it happens to a lot of people. So we're going to talk about it. Sleep sex.
Okay.
So if you've ever been doing it and then you wake up and you're like, oh my God, when did this start? That's what that is. Okay. So then REM parasomnias include REM behavior disorder, recurrent isolated sleep paralysis, and cataphrenia, which is sleep groaning. So if you talk in your sleep or, try to have conversations, I guess that's what that is.
Yeah.
So then The grand unified theory is that a parasomnia is an abnormal sleep-related event or behavior that occurs because during a certain state transition, which, going between the non-REM and the REM sleep, certain normal physiological processes, such as starting to wake up, starting to move, that are supposed to be inactive or inhibited, are inappropriately activated or disinhibited. So, basically, as you're starting to fall asleep, your body is somehow waking up, but your brain is not.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Lots of medical terms there. Sorry.
No, I'm following.
Okay. So, basically, a parasomnia occurs due to incomplete dissociation of one sleep-wake state and another. So, they're entangled. You're partially awake, but you're also partially asleep. And those two things are trying to combine. Your brain's trying to make sense of them.
Okay.
So, why are most encounters with sleep paralysis terrifying? Why are there not happy dreams?
Yes. Very, very good point. Because, okay, so when you're saying that they're overlapping, whereas normally your eyes would be closed and you would be having these images happening in your mind.
Right.
But when they overlap, you see them like in your room or next to you.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So my question was, why the heck am I not seeing my grandpa?
Right.
Because I've dreamt about talking to my grandpa. Why does that not also occur? And I found in some situations, people had it occur, like they would dream they were flying or something like that, but it was very rare. The grand majority of people have terrifying hallucinations. So Edvin Malalik, he's experienced sleep paralysis on many occasions, even during just meditation. So he wasn't even asleep. He was just meditating. He said, our brain is wired to fear or be very careful of the unknown. So back when he used to have sleep paralysis regularly, he decided to put an end to the fear one time and just remembered to take deep breaths. And that actually transitioned him into lucid dreaming.
Okay. There's the tie-in for today.
Yeah. And we didn't actually know that those two were connected when we started looking into this. So he did just that, and the terror, agony, and fear dissipated immediately, and all that was left was pure bliss and freedom from fear or trouble. This lady, Christy Lawson on, okay, so you know that site Quora, where you ask a question and people answer it?
Yep.
Okay,
I actually talk about it in mine too.
Yeah. I don't know how legit it is, but this lady sounded like she knew what she was talking about. So she said, in short, she doesn't know why they're always terrifying. She just knows that hers always are. She's experienced it since she was a small child. The hallucinations were always and still are terrifying. This actually fascinated me. When she was a child, the doctor said she was having night terrors and put her on sleeping pills, which actually seemed to make it worse. So she started cheeking the pills and flat out refusing to take them as she got older. She did everything to avoid sleep, which makes it worse.
Yeah.
But she didn't know that. She was trying to stay awake even to the point of eating instant coffee.
Oh.
Yeah, I felt really bad for her.
Poor thing, yeah.
She thought she was crazy some days. Other days, she thought she was haunted. And she definitely thought she was crazy for thinking she was haunted. So she went through it all alone at least a few nights a week, sometimes multiple times in a night for her entire life, telling no one.
Jeez.
About 3 years ago, the episodes had been going on every night for a week and had been particularly violent. I was laying there trying to scream, hoping my wife would hear my whimpers and shake me. After what seemed like hours, she rolled over and put her hand on my shoulder. I immediately popped up into a panic attack. In the middle of my tears, babbling and hyperventilating, I told her what I'd not told any other human my entire life. She told me to Google it. So at 5:30 a.m., I Googled body asleep, mind awake, and found out why I'd been tortured during my sleep since I was a small child. I can't tell you how many episodes I've had. It would number in the thousands easily. Can you imagine?
No.
I can tell you that they're all terrible. I'm always disturbed the day after. I walk around in a daze for a day or two afterwards because even though the experience was a hallucination, it still very much feels like it happened to me. That someone was in my room, standing over me, choking me. Now that I know what the episodes are, they seem to have lessened some and don't last as long, but they're still awful and terrifying. Hope someone has had a more positive answer for you here, but as a person who's experienced this her whole life, I can say unequivocally that yes, mine are indeed always scary.
Okay, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of people with sleep paralysis, at least the stories that I've come across, they see a lot of the same things. Are you going to get into that?
Literally the next question. Why do we often encounter the same creatures in sleep paralysis all over the world?
Oh, that's crazy. Well, it's like the old hag.
Yeah.
Is one of them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so you're about to, I guess you're going to tell me.
I'm going to tell you. Okay.
Yes.
So the funny part is science can't answer that. Okay. They have an answer for everything else but that one. In Fiji, the demon is sometimes seen as a deceased relative coming back to discuss an important or unfinished matter. So, like, that's all of Fiji. That's weird that would be all of Fiji. and like,
I don't know if I buy the explanation up to this point.
I know. Just wait.
Okay.
Wait.
Okay. All right.
In Chinese folklore, it's also seen as a ghost rather than a demon or intruder. Some people in Iran and Pakistan interpret it as a demon or spirit taking over your body. This could be due to black magic performed by an enemy. And then in Newfoundland, it's an old hag who sits on your chest, which is what you were talking about. The similarities are so common that there's a list of what may be experienced while in sleep paralysis.
Okay.
So they've actually made a list. It says it starts with the sound of chains or footsteps, maybe smells of sulfur, or just a bad smell in general, the odoriferous thing.
Oh, you got to use it again. That's
I
so
know.
exciting.
You might hear something breathing in your ear or moaning or groaning. And then you might see a being, which usually includes ghosts, demons, gray aliens, an old hag, an incubus sitting on your chest, which they're the ones that try to like molest you in your sleep.
Yeah.
Or the shadow people and the Hat Man.
Okay.
So it's not like you're seeing your Uncle Tom coming in to tickle you to death. Like,
Right. Or
it's
even random scary things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If there's a list that's common among people, that says something.
Exactly. And that's something science can't explain. So chalk that one up for the spiritual side.
Sometimes, yeah, I feel like science just like...
They want to explain away everything.
Well, yeah, especially if it's something that's so common that so many people experience, they're going to do their best to have an explanation for it. You know what I mean? But like the fact that there's so many inconsistencies, like tell me that, dude, like especially smelling sulfur, you know what I mean? And all like these telltale demonic things. Like you just got to think these people are being harassed.
Exactly. So then are the hallucinations and sleep paralysis real? I went on to something called dreamstudies.org, and this guy named Ryan Hurd had a very interesting article.
Okay.
Basically, I kind of interject some of my thoughts in here with this. So it's not all him, but science is always trying to disprove the spiritual world, like we talked about. They've even done studies. This kind of came up in a side note of my research, but they've done studies on Ouija boards to determine that at least one person is always subconsciously aware of where the planchette will move, predicting the outcome. And it can go so far as they're like alternating who's predicting it. That's what they're saying. Okay. I'm like, yeah, okay, right. So reading that article to me was so far-fetched, I couldn't even believe it was published.
Yeah.
So naturally, when they look into sleep paralysis, it's all a figment of our imagination, or it's some sleep disorder. But for those of us who have experienced the spiritual side of the world, we know there is way more to it than just sleep cycles overlapping. And we have some proof that it is because of people who are brave enough to share their accounts. So this to me was the nail in the coffin for our side. Like,
Okay.
I think that's the proper term. It's a good thing. Okay. So this is a lovely example of how spirits can show up in sleep paralysis accounts. It's first published in a Japanese newspaper over 50 years ago and reprinted in the scholarly journal Dreaming. One night in July 1961, Mr. Ashida, a chief mechanic, had a dream of a sailor while he was sleeping in the nap room at Suki Air Force Base.
Nap room. How lovely.
Which was a commando-type Air Force base during World War II. Okay. So this was all the way back then. The sailor wore a uniform and said he had been killed by being caught in a spinning airplane propeller. While he was dreaming, Mr. Ashida felt a heavy weight on his breast and couldn't move an inch, though he struggled to. Mr. Ashida examined the history of this Air Force base and learned that there had been such an accident in the past.
Okay.
The point isn't even that the potential historical accuracy, because you can't technically prove that actually happened, but rather that the event was so compelling that he actually felt the need to go and research it and then share it with people. You know, that's a big deal. So is sleep paralysis scientific or spiritual? Here's the statistics. 4 out of 10 people are affected by sleep paralysis. Only
big number.
Yeah. Only 8% of the general population experiences it. But if you dive into smaller groups, 28% of students experience it. Why? They're not sleeping. And 31% of psychiatric patients experience it. So it leads, those are all people that have sleep issues.
Right.
So, it makes sense.
But that could be, those people are also closer to the other side.
Exactly. The ways in which people experience it can differ dramatically. Some may experience it once or twice. Others may experience it every night. Sometimes they can be triggered by sleep deprivation. Sometimes they're linked to disorder, like we talked about. Mm-hmm. It does seem that if you choose to try and force it to happen, sometimes it can occur. You have to go through these steps. Why would you do that? I have no idea. But it also seems that there's a strong tie to the spiritual world, because several accounts I read about only started experiencing sleep paralysis after using a Ouija board for the first time.
Huh.
So, Could it be that the fear and anxiety of attempting to or even succeeding in contacting the spiritual world triggered a restless sleep and thus sleep paralysis? Possibly. Scientifically, that's possible. Does it mean that what occurred during that sleep paralysis was not real? No. And when I set out researching this, I wanted to understand both the scientific side and the spiritual side. I mean, I'm already really well in touch with the spiritual side.
Yeah.
And I was prepared for whatever outcome there was. But my conclusion so far is that sleep paralysis is actually both.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I actually have ways that you can stop yourself from experiencing sleep paralysis, how to break out of sleep paralysis. You know, I mean, that's the scientific part of it. But then there's other times where you can't really control what's happening in those dreams. Not every nightmare you experience is real and has a deeper meaning to it. But sometimes you will be visited by spirits from the other side for varying purposes, whether it's to attack you mentally or to offer you comfort and healing. And that had actually occurred. And I want to talk about that real quick.
Okay. With you?
No, not with me.
Okay. I was like,
I've personally never experienced sleep paralysis, and that surprises me.
Right.
Okay, so there was this guy, researcher David Hufford, and I mean, this dude has like accolades. Okay, he's like
credentials.
Yeah, he's involved in both the spiritual and the scientific world. He actually wrote Terror That Comes in the Night, an experience-centered study of supernatural occult traditions. He worked in UPenn's Department of Behavioral Science and like a bunch of other stuff that he did. So he was like, you know, looking at it from all angles. And he said that those who have spiritual viewpoints, who are educated about the biological causes of sleep paralysis, so the scientific side, do not necessarily stop believing once they're educated. They simply integrate the two fields of knowledge and craft integrative statements like REM sleep is a brain state where the dead come to visit. And I love that. Because it gives credit to both sides.
Okay.
So that's what I feel. Okay. So he had some interesting encounters of his own. He had also experienced sleep paralysis himself.
Okay.
And he said the first time he had sleep paralysis, he encountered an old hag sitting on his chest, like so many others across the world.
Yeah, very telling.
As it went on, like the more times he had it, he started trying to change the encounter. So instead of being afraid of her, he started trying to trust her. I know.
I can't imagine even being in the mental state to be able to do that.
I know. But what happened because of that is actually very interesting. So at the time that he wrote this, it was 10 years prior to that. He had laid down for a nap and had been terribly upset and anxious after a bad social exchange in a new city where he felt very alone. We've all been there.
Yep. That's
okay,
so,
so there's a woman in front of him with dark curly hair. So I'm thinking like... What's that movie with the girl, the Grudge?
The Ring? Or
well, they all have straight back hair. It's awful. But the Grudge, like,
Yeah.
Okay, so he knows that he's in a sleep paralysis state. He's conscious of his sleeping body, laying on the bed. He was actually lying on his stomach. Most people find it when they're on their back, but he was on his stomach. There's a woman in front of him with dark curly hair. He feels her presence. She steps into the room. Then he feels her standing beside the bed and then sitting beside him. He can't see her face. He's scared, but he decides to trust her. She then sits on his lower back. He can feel her weight.
Okay.
Then gravity rotates 180 degrees, so it seems like he's now lying on his back. He feels the woman's hands on his chest area, and his whole chest becomes warm and tingly. I know she is healing me somehow, and I relax further into the sensation of being cared for, he says. I don't know how you could do that, but...
Okay. I just can't get behind that. That's so much. Okay.
The heat extends through my body to my back, not just on the surface of my skin, but a warm and deep glow. And in his book about sleep paralysis, he says the turning point in this experience is when he decided to trust the woman in front of him, even when the feelings of paralysis were still occurring and the encounter was beginning to go down the nasty succubus route, that sleep sex route. He didn't just hope. He decided once again to relax and to trust her. And at that point, it began to take a positive turn, and he woke up feeling refreshed and pain-free.
I'm sure he did.
So he says, something changed for me that day. The world opened up and I felt supported, even blessed. I knew for the first time that sleep paralysis could bring healing figures, not just nightmares, as I had been taught.
He's a nasty boy.
I mean, you know what? If it's consensual.
Me and the sleep demon. We're both in agreement on what's about to happen. All right.
Okay, so that's kind of my point of view, is that it's both spiritual and scientific. Now, how do you wake yourself up from it?
Yes.
That's the first thing I want to talk about. So the first thing you can do is just make peace with it.
Okay.
That's the hardest thing, is to just be like, I'm okay. I'm okay. You know,
nothing physically can happen in this moment.
Nothing physically can get you. And then go with the flow. So just like let things happen, you know, just accept it all. Then start to wiggle your toes. Most of the feelings of paralysis are in your core.
Okay.
Not your extremities. So you can wriggle your toes and that might pop you out of it. You can also clench and unclench your fist, which as soon as I read that, for some reason I saw the Arthur meme and I was like, it just made me laugh. So then, again, working those extremities and then focus on your breath and try to slow it down. So breathing is an autonomic reaction. It's not a muscle. So it's not going to be paralyzed. Your initial reaction is to, because you're freaked out. It's speeding up because of the fear. Did that sound sexual? Should I cut that out?
No, please keep it in.
Okay.
Can we just do that? Okay, so sorry. One more time for the people that weren't listening. The breathing goes what now?
This normally is not that kind of podcast.
But you want it to be like...
Exactly.
Okay. I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page.
When you're trying to stop an anxiety attack, the same kind of thing. Slow your breathing.
Okay.
If you can control your breathing, many times you'll start to wake up. Lean into love to find courage. So if you're religious, say a prayer. If you're not, or if you just don't want to do that, think about your significant other, your family members, the people you love. Think happy thoughts. Do the whole Peter Pan thing, you know?
Well, there's a creepy, distorted figure crawling your way. Yeah. All right. Tiptoe through the window.
Yeah.
Yes, Tiny
Just
Tim.
start singing that in your head. Okay. You can also make a preemptive approach and tell your significant other to wake you up if your breathing changes. Now, some people can't do this, but my husband has sleep apnea. And so he will stop breathing sometimes.
Mine will too. Yep.
And somehow I wake up and I just swat him.
Yep.
Like every time without fail.
Yep.
And so that's actually saved his life a couple times, you know, not to brag, but
good job.
So if they are aware enough to be able to smack you or shake you awake, that can help. If you don't have a significant other sharing your bed, instead of trying to call out for help because your vocal cords are paralyzed, try coughing. Okay. You can actually cough hard enough, because it's another autonomic response like breathing. You can actually cough hard enough to jar yourself out of it.
Okay.
So just like cough like your life depends on it. And then if all else fails, I don't know why there was a whole list if this is fail proof, but the person who wrote this suggests that you scrunch up your face several times in a row like you smell something nasty. He calls it foolproof, and apparently it just wakes you right up.
I was doing it. I was practicing. All right. Well, I mean,
I don't know how that one's foolproof, but that's what he said. So
those are good tips. I mean, people need to have this type of stuff in their arsenal, you know, if they experience sleep paralysis, because it's good to know that there's a way out, hopefully, you know.
And then I actually have two other little lists.
Okay.
Sorry, this is kind of long, but...
No, go for it.
Okay, so then you can actually transition sleep paralysis into lucid dreaming.
Uh-huh.
And there's some steps to take, which you probably know way more about this than I do, but this is what they said. Overcome the fear and tell yourself, I'm in sleep paralysis. So just recognize and vocalize in your mind what that is. Then focus on controlling your breathing again and slowing it down. Because you feel like you're choking, your breathing muscles are partially paralyzed, which we talked about. So you just want to kind of relax and just take control of it. And then you conjure up what you want to dream about. So instead of saying, I want to feel like I'm flying, just go, I'm flying! And just declare it. And envision yourself doing it. And they had like all this stuff about like falling into a kaleidoscope and like all that. And I didn't understand it. So I thought maybe you could illuminate on that more.
Yeah, I didn't read any kaleidoscope stuff, but
okay, well,
sure. I don't know everything there is to know about lucid dreaming, so that could be a thing.
Which, if you don't know what lucid dreaming is, because we haven't talked about that yet, it's basically where you're in control of what's happening.
Right.
So you can transition it from things being out of your control to being in control, basically.
Exactly.
Okay, and then the last list. What if you don't want to experience sleep paralysis altogether?
Yep.
There's a way to fix that too.
Never sleep.
No, that's the opposite.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, wrong.
That's a good way to experience it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first is sleep on your side, not your back. They actually even suggest putting a tennis ball in like the waistband or the pocket of your sleep pants, so that if you roll over, you're like, ow, roll back. So the best thing is not to sleep on your back or your stomach, because your stomach is also one of those places like it can pin you down on your back. Okay. No late night meals or late night drinking. So for those of you who like nightcaps, I'm sorry, that could be contributing to you seeing spiritual presences.
I'm hiding my wine.
The third one is drink herbal tea or milk before bed instead, which is where it cracks me up because we're always like, drink some chamomile tea. It's like, wow, you're actually right about that.
I know. Aw.
4 is give yourself an hour of relaxation before bedtime to wind down. So lighting candles, lighting incense, I mean, all that stuff actually works.
All the stuff that we've already been telling you guys.
See, we've had y'all's back from the get-go.
We worry about you guys.
Turn off all electronics. So don't fall asleep watching TV. I know some of you do that, and I'm so sorry, but that actually could be contributing to sleep paralysis. Don't play video games right before you go to bed because obviously that's some dream material right there.
Right.
Reduce or eliminate caffeine intake.
Okay.
Get more sleep. Sleep deprivation is actually what brings on sleep paralysis. So if you're not sleeping well, you're more likely to have an episode than if you get 8 hours. They said if you're getting like 7 hours on average, you're at risk for it.
Interesting.
So you want to get like 8 hours a night.
Okay.
So I'm surprised new moms wasn't on the list
right.
of like studies.
They probably just don't even care.
Yeah, they're just like, they'll survive. 8 is try meditation.
Yeah.
And then the last one is dream journal. So if you're still experiencing it, you can dream journal to spot patterns on what's happening, what pre-occurred before this sleep paralysis that, you know, you can see patterns and things like that.
This ties so much into mine.
I know. That's what I was looking at. I'm like, wow, sleep paralysis is like the base platform for so many things.
Yes.
Astral projection, out-of-body experiences, lucid dreaming, all of it.
Yeah.
And as I was reading that list, like I have a certain medical reason that I actually have to follow those things anyway. So I think that's probably why I've never had sleep paralysis, because I have to make sure I have to get 8 hours. I can't have caffeine. You know, I have to like relax, and I tend to sleep on my side anyway because I hate sleeping on my back.
Me too. Yeah.
And now that I'm pregnant, I can't sleep on my back. So I feel like a lot of those things is probably what spared me from experiencing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you guys experience it, there's how to get out of it, how to stop it potentially, and what it is. You know, I mean, we're not saying that it's just a sleep disorder, but if that makes you feel more comfortable, just look at it that way. Tell yourself it's just sleep paralysis.
And you have the tools to get yourself out of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that doesn't discount the fact that it is a thin veil to the other side.
I 100% have always, yes. And I loved this research. It was super interesting.
Okay, so I had a couple sleep paralysis stories, but I may actually save them for like a ghost stories episode because they have something to do with it. So this one is called Hand and Footprints, and it's terrifying.
Wow.
Okay, so the person said, I almost only have them when I sleep on my back during the night. So the most terrifying time was when I slept on my chest during the daylight hours on my couch in the living room.
No one's safe.
No one's safe. I thought that it was a coward that only came in the dark of the night, but it came to prove me wrong. Every single incident was at night except this one. And this is a grown man with kids, okay?
Yeah.
My wife and I were arguing on the way home from church, and she took the kids to her mother's for the day so we could both calm down. I chose to take a nap laying on my chest with my head turned to the left away from the sunlight from my living room windows. I awoke around 2 p.m., unable to move, only this time I felt that my right leg was slightly elevated. Each of my experiences beforehand were different in that I was being held down and choked by a dark silhouette. I would try to yell, but nothing would come out. I would panic and begin to pray, and then it would let me go and leave. This time, though, it dragged me off the couch and was yanking me violently with my face down in broad daylight where I could not see it. I truly thought this thing was finally going to kill me. I'm a 33-year-old man in good health who isn't scared easily, but in that moment, I thought I would never see my children again. I prayed that God would protect me, and he did. A veil of darkness lifted from the room. From where I was on the floor, I could see the sunlight from the window shift forward several inches. There was a handprint on my ankle from where it grabbed me and dragged me. It had 5 fingers like the hands of a man. I had a large... Okay. This proves that this isn't all in our heads. I had a large terrier mix at the time, and he was clawing at the back door and growling like I had never heard him do before. I let him in the house, and he was snarling and baring his teeth, running from room to room, chasing something that I could not see. He had heavy footprints on my wooden floor, so he could hear this thing after he was awake out of it. He watched his dog chase after this thing to the corner of his yard, and it wasn't until he came back that he realized his dog almost clawed through a 2-inch thick wooden door, trying to get in to protect him. I blessed my home with oil that same day, and I haven't had trouble since. That was in 2012.
Wow.
So
so remember earlier when we said to just put yourself in the mindset that nothing can hurt you and touch you? I'm so sorry.
Well, that to me was interesting because that could be more than just sleep paralysis, truthfully, if he was being followed by something. But it does beg the question that, like, there's proof that that wasn't just in his mind.
Right, because animals can see that stuff.
And he had a handprint on his leg.
Yes.
Okay, so Rachel.
Yes, ma'am.
Enlighten us on the lucid dreaming, because I kind of, like, dipped my toe in that pool and I'm ready to dive in.
Ready to dive. All right. So, lucid dreaming. A quick definition. I'm going to give you a little one, and then I'm going to kind of go more into it.
Okay.
Quick definition via Wikipedia. A lucid dream is a dream during which the dreamer is aware that they are dreaming. During a lucid dream, the dreamer may gain some amount of control over the dream, characters, narrative, and environment. However, this is not actually necessary for a dream to be described as lucid.
Interesting.
Okay. So more in-depth... I just dropped my charger. Everything's fine. Okay. More in-depth explanation. Barrett Brogard...
What a name.
Who has a whole bunch of credentials, including a PhD. He wrote... Okay. This was in... I think the website was called The Superhuman Mind, and his article is called Lucid Dreaming and Self-Realization. Okay?
Okay.
This was posted back in 2012. Let me just start over. Okay.
How's that wine, Rachel?
Okay. When I went to graduate school, lucid dreaming was a concept everyone knew of, yet knew nearly nothing about. Okay, you try and say that sentence.
That was a lot of ends.
That's a lot of ends. Okay.
Yes.
Generation X missed the lucid dreaming debates of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. After that, the debates faded out, and lucid dreaming became geeky subject matter of a few liberal intellectuals.
That's probably because there was so much drug use in the 60s and 70s.
That's true. And hardly anyone had heard of. Christopher Nolan's movie Inception, perhaps misleadingly, brought the concept back into the core of the minds of the masses.
That movie.
Yes. So lucid dreaming is your chance to play around with the extraordinary abilities buried in unused parts of your brain. Regardless of whether you are superhuman in real life or not, lucid dreaming is a way for you to put the deepest areas of your brain to good use while you're sleeping. You can be a Jane Doe while awake and Superman while sleeping. All the obstacles of reality can be set aside as you make trips to the sun or to the interior of the earth, or test your craziest science experiments on your worst enemies. Lucid dream researcher Beverly D'Urso knows everything about lucid dreaming. She's been a lucid dreamer since she was 7 years old. She has worked with psychologist Stephen LaBerge, the founder of the Lucidity Institute.
Holy crap, he came up in my research too.
Oh, really?
Yes.
How funny.
That's interesting.
Oh. Okay. I didn't read this all before. She was the first person to have a recorded orgasm during a dream.
Oh my God.
I've got no shame. During her lucid dreams, she has tasted fire, visited the sun, and overcome a writer's block. She has done it all. We recently conducted an interview with the lucid dream expert. What does lucid dreaming mean? Even though the term lucid means clear, lucid dreaming is more than just having a clear dream. To have a lucid dream, you must know that it's a dream while you're dreaming. That's it. It doesn't require that you can control anything in your dream, though control is what beginning lucid dreamers often aim at. People get attracted to lucid dreaming because they want to be able to do things that they could never do in reality. For example, taste fire or fly to the sun. More and more experienced lucid dreamers are realizing the benefits of lucid dreaming. You can use it to explore the boundaries of your own agency and the limits of the universe.
Okay, but this is dreaming, so what happens in the dream world isn't necessarily true for the real world, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your little science experience, you can't come out and like write a theory on it.
No, but I was reading an interview with this guy who I think he's from Australia or New Zealand or
somewhere down under.
Somewhere down under. Yep. And he was talking about how he, I guess, was having like this financial or legal trouble in his life, and in his lucid dream he brought all of his all the people that he respected in his life into a room, and they gave him their opinions, and they all kind of worked it out, and they wrote down what he needed to bring to his lawyers.
So like a spiritual powwow.
Kind of, yeah. Cool. And so when he woke up, he actually brought that to his lawyers and worked all of his issues out. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, so I mean, like
because not all of it is fake.
Right.
We're real people. Okay, yeah.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, if you have no knowledge of how to create science experiments or what chemicals go together in real life. You can't do
Right.
that when you're sleeping, you know.
Right.
But anyway, what's the best technique for becoming lucid in dreams? The best technique for becoming lucid is to actually become more aware and look and listen and pay attention to details. Because when you see things that don't fit, that's a clue that you're dreaming. To facilitate the process, you can form the habit of examining the environment or state of awareness during the day. Mental habits you practice during the day tend to continue in dreams. So you examine your environment during the day, you examine your awareness, and then you may notice that something is different once you start dreaming. Someone who has become lucid has much higher levels of awareness, and obviously, I think that's one of the biggest benefits of lucid dreaming.
Right.
Okay, so after reading all that, you kind of have a basic knowledge of it.
Mm-hmm.
I went to YouTube, where you can literally find how-tos to do everything in life.
It's so true.
I went to, there's this person on YouTube that calls themselves Explore Lucid Dreaming, and the title of the video, which was only about 15 minutes long, was How to Lucid Dream Tonight for Beginners, Complete Guide.
That's what I needed back when I tried this. I did not succeed.
Yeah, so okay, so to break it down, there are about 7 steps, okay? And this almost guarantees that you'll be able to do it. Okay, so even if it doesn't work for you the first night you try it, just keep following these steps and eventually you'll be able to. Okay. First step is to meditate for 10 to 15 minutes before falling asleep.
Okay,
this was hard for me to do because every time I tried to meditate, or focus on one thing in particular, my mom and just human brain is always like, oh, okay, but I have to get those Father's Day cards out.
Exactly.
And, oh, shoot, I have to did I turn the monitor up for the baby? You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's so hard to just sit there and meditate, but you have to and you have to tell yourself, I am going to lucid dream. Have you ever seen or read the book, The Secret? It's a movie too.
No, but I know about positive affirmations.
Okay.
Does it have something to do with that?
Yeah. It's basically saying, I will own this house one day. I
Gotcha.
will do this
Gotcha.
one day. And then you do it. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's basically that. Then, this was a really hard part. Okay. Set an alarm for 5 to 6 hours after you plan to sleep. So this is so that you're in the correct stage of REM sleep. Okay.
Uh-huh.
I didn't do that part. Okay. Third step, sleep. Fourth step, wake up from alarm and hang one arm off of your bed. Okay.
What, so the night demons can grab it?
I know, that's what I was like. Even in the comments, people were like, have they not heard of monsters? Okay. But anyway, okay, so your arm is hanging off the side of your bed, and you are going to, in the next step, move your fingers as if you're playing the piano, up and down the keys. Okay, so like this, 1, 2, 3, 4 up, 1, 2, 3, 4 down. Okay. And then you're going to keep lessening this movement until you are only moving your fingers in your mind. Okay. So this is basically to keep you from falling asleep.
Gotcha.
Okay, so that you're focusing on your hand moving up and down.
So you're in control of it.
Exactly. Okay, so have the intention of lucid dreaming to keep you from falling asleep while you're doing that, and then you fall into a lucid dream, apparently.
That sounds so easy.
Okay. It's also important, this guy talked a lot about keeping a dream journal, just as you described, to kind of write your dreams down, see if there's any patterns that form, just so that you're in the mindset of remembering your dreams too.
Right. And in case you guys did not know this, when you dream journal, you want to do that within the first 5 minutes of waking up. Otherwise, you start to forget things.
Exactly. Or, you know what, and he even said, if it's too much for you to wake up in the dark and write down your dream, just record it as a voice memo on your phone.
Oh, that's a good idea. Technology.
I tell you. Okay. So I did these steps. Okay. Oh, wait.
Okay.
Oh, I don't think I'm going to go into that yet.
Fine. Keep us on
I'm
the
gonna
ledge
do
a
it.
little
I'm gonna
longer.
do it at the end. Okay. So there are some risks of lucid dreaming. Okay. This is from an article, The Benefit and Risks of Lucid Dreaming by Patrick Allen. Dream claustrophobia. And that's knowing you're in a dream and you're unable to wake from it.
Ooh.
This also happens in regular dreams, but it's much more vivid when you're lucid.
Okay.
Sleep paralysis. It occurs for most everyone at night during the REM cycle and to keep you from physically acting out your dreams.
Yep.
But some people experience a state that's in between dreaming and waking when they try lucid dreaming. This can be frightening since you can't move, you're aware that you're awake, but you still may be experiencing hallucinations from your dream. This kind of sleep paralysis is uncommon, but definitely a possibility when experimenting with lucid dreams.
See, okay. way back in 2010, which I actually, now that I'm thinking back on this, right before I went through that 3-month stint, I was trying this.
Oh,
and
interesting.
They instructed me to try and self-induce sleep paralysis first.
Okay.
So
who told you that?
It was on the internet.
YouTube.
I know I should have YouTubed it, but I didn't.
Okay. 3, some fear that using lucid dreams is a form of escapism. Okay, that will force them out of touch with reality. After all, why would you want to spend your time in the normal world when you can be in your own personal world where you have unimaginable power? Also, if you happen to suffer from certain personality disorders like borderline personality also, if you happen to suffer from borderline personality, why can't I say it?
Borderline personality disorders.
I'm just gonna let you say it. Or any other mental disorder that makes it difficult for you to know what's real and what isn't, you're better off sleeping the old-fashioned way. Lucid dreaming could cause you to suffer from dream reality confusion and exacerbate your condition. But again, while these scenarios are a very real possibility, they're all still unlikely occurrences for those in a relatively healthy mental state who work their way up to lucid dreams with gradual, deliberate practice. Lucid dreams are a lot like a swimming pool, a place where you can struggle and drown, but if you learn how to swim, there's nothing to fear, and you'll have a blast splashing around.
Comforting.
Yes. So, I have a few short first-hand experiences. Okay. The first one, we were talking about Quora earlier today, and one of them is from there. Quora is just, I don't know if we described it, but it's just a website where you can ask questions and then people from the world answer it. So yeah, that's really all it is. Okay, when I was practicing lucid dreaming, I kept a dream journal and wrote every single one down. I'll tell you about my best one yet. Oh no, I was standing on a public square when suddenly something felt off. I was really into lucid dreaming at that time, so I instantly performed a reality check. I counted my fingers to figure out I had 7. Okay, I have to tell you about that. Remind me to tell you about the hand thing at the end, okay? Okay. Right the second I knew I was dreaming and became lucid, I thought of all the cool things I could do before I'd wake up. So I decided to soar and fly up around 40 meters. The amount of detail and realism still amazes me. After sightseeing my hometown from above, I descended. Another person was standing across from me on the street, and I thought this would be a great time for a Harry Potter-like battle. So I reached into my pocket with the assumption to find the Elder Wand, which of course I did. I had pulled it out and had shouted, "Stupefy!" After which a red light flashed out of the wand.
I'm so jealous.
I know. I was like, Kayla's going to love this one. At that point, I felt godlike and changed the weather into a storm with lightning. But somehow the dream became unstable, and I knew I was about to wake up. So my last act, I had pulled out a gun from my pocket and shot myself through the head. I was really trying to feel what waking up would feel like. And the feeling was something new, something I had not felt before.
Plot twist, he actually grabbed the gun while he was sleeping. That would terrify me. Like, what if that was permanent?
I know. I was like, oh, that took a turn. Okay. But that reminds me. Okay, so the hand thing.
Yes.
Apparently in dreams, there are different reality checks that you can pull. And this is from that YouTube video I found. Okay. So one of them is look at your hand and count your fingers. Normally in dreams, you'll have more fingers than you normally have, or your hand will be a different color. Okay. I don't know what it is about hands, but I read that over and over again is to look at your hands. Okay. So I found that super interesting. And another, other reality checks were to, you can put your hands through one another, pushing your hands through an object, things like that.
Interesting.
Yes. So if that happens and if you're able to do those things, obviously it's not reality. Okay. That comes up later. The other experience is from Reddit. And this experience it was a dream within a dream. And it started out as me waking up from a pretty bad nightmare. I sat up in my bed and saw something was off in my very dark room. The chair that was usually standing at the far wall of my room was instead right next to my bed. Ew. I found this odd and then realized a small porcelain doll was sitting in the chair.
Oh, Annabelle, go away.
This freaked me the fuck out. Especially when the doll lifted its head and stared at me with its blank eyes. I immediately realized I was dreaming and tried to fly away through my room. But as I flew, the room stretched along with me.
Oh, yeah.
Then the stretching suddenly stopped, and at the end of my room was a mirror. Inside the mirror, I saw myself, but not my normal self. Instead,
always.
I was rather undead looking.
Oh, God.
I don't remember exactly what I looked like, but I definitely remember the rotting flesh I saw before my eyes. I pointed at myself and screamed while the mirror image pointed at me laughing. Then I woke up and played Skyrim for the rest of the night, terrified of going back to bed.
Yeah, that's not the kind of lucid dream you want to have.
No, but I also, that one reminded me of another tidbit I read. If you're a gamer, you have more inclination to be able to lucid dream.
Okay, but you also have more ability to get stuck in sleep paralysis.
True.
So,
True.
They really do go hand in hand.
Yeah, they really do. Okay. I did this, guys. This is where we're ending in the lucid dream experiences. So I followed the 7 steps from the YouTube tutorial, cutting a few out because I know myself, and if I would have set an alarm to make myself get up and do that whole spiel, I would have had to pee and then ruined the whole thing because I would have gotten up and been out of that state of mind.
6 hours is like my spans that I can go before I must empty the bladder.
Oh, I have to do it multiple times a night. So there's no way that I could do
Childbirth.
that. I tell ya. So anyway, what I did was I meditated. Okay. Told myself, I am going to lucid dream. I am going to lucid dream. I'm going to remember this. I will remember this. Okay. And then I went through the reality checks in my head. I did the piano thing with my fingers, even though it wasn't probably in the correct order or time, you know.
Right.
But did all that. And then I actually fell asleep. Okay. So this is my dream that I had.
Okay.
This is actually, it's a common dream that I have. And I've had it many times.
You have recurring dreams?
I do.
Interesting.
I do.
We need to do a dream episode.
That would be so fun.
Yes.
Yeah. Piggyback on this one.
Yes.
Okay. So in my dream, I am trying to get away from someone or something with a friend. And the friend is somebody who is familiar to me, but I don't know if I actually know in real life.
Okay.
I just know the feeling of like feeling comfortable with this person and that we were in this together to escape.
The camaraderie.
Yes, exactly the word I was thinking of in my head. Okay, so what we're doing is we're running down like a kind of like a cobblestone-y road. Okay, an older part of town, whatever this town is, and there's older houses, kind of like older like beach houses that are one after another, and we're running down the road, and then I get to this house that is, I'm like, oh, I used to live here. This is a good house to go in. I used to live here. Okay, so we break into this house,
randomly breaking and entering.
And I remember this house, like I remember the feeling of this house, and the feeling of this house is like I didn't love when I lived there. It felt wrong. Like this house just felt wrong. Okay. It's like a darker, creepier house. And I knew that somewhere in this house, there was like in one of the hallways, cause it's kind of like a labyrinth of a house.
Yeah.
There's in one of the hallways, there's a door that's locked. And if you're able to get through that door, there's a whole bunch of like locked, like a locked room that's full of like trinkets and old furniture and like antiques and stuff like that.
Okay.
And, but I've only been able to get in there once or twice in real life. Okay. I mean, in the dream, you know what I'm talking about, like whatever. Normally in my dreams, it's locked and I just know that it's there. So, okay. So we're running around and it's feeling like I'm feeling very anxious because the house, like I said, turns into a labyrinth and I don't remember the way out of it. So we're kind of just running up and down hallways and like through rooms and stuff like that. And we're just starting to get panicked. Okay. So then I remember that, oh my gosh, I think I'm dreaming. Okay.
Okay.
And so then I stop and I look down at my hand and I shit you not, I had 6 fingers.
Oh my God.
On my hand. And I remember still being freaked out. Like, I don't know how to lucid dream. I don't know. This is my first time being aware in a dream.
I'm new here. Be nice.
But I look at my hand and I'm like, oh, okay, great. I have 6 fingers. Fantastic. And so like, I like take my friend and we're able to like find a door that led us out of like the house. Okay. So we're still running away.
That was your big extreme imagination, was escape the house.
Okay, shoot. But I mean, okay. I was proud of myself that I was able to get out of this dream house. It's
I know. Nothing is more on par with you though than that. That's what I love about it. It's great. Forget magic, forget flying. Just get me out of this freaky house.
Okay, maybe in the future I'll be able to Harry Potter battle with somebody, but for right now, I'm happy that I got out of the house. So anyway, that's all I remember from that dream, but I was like, shoot, I did it.
That's awesome. I mean, you got way farther than I did. I would always get stuck in the whole, okay, I'm trying to fall asleep, but not like too asleep, because I need to know that I'm dreaming, and then I would never get there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think my head would get in the way too much.
Yeah.
If I did it that way, I would have been like, okay, I'm not falling asleep because I just keep thinking about not falling asleep.
Right.
So I don't know how to get into this half state.
You know, interestingly enough, since I've been pregnant, you know, pregnancy brings like crazy vivid dreams.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, I have noticed that I can kind of control what happens. Mm-hmm. And it's not like I'm sitting there going, hey, I'm lucid dreaming, but I'm definitely like aware of what's occurring. And if I don't like it, I start to shift it. Oh. So it's interesting. Now maybe I'll be like, look at my hand, you know?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Yes.
Exactly. So
awesome.
That's really interesting. I guess I'm glad you were able to do that. Especially since it was a scary dream. You were able to get out.
I got out of the freaking house. I'm proud of myself.
I love it.
All right. Well, that wraps up our episode on dreams.
So you thought we were joking when we said drink your chamomile tea, light some incense and candles, yada, yada, yada. But no, that will actually help you get out of and avoid sleep paralysis. Yeah. So there you go.
And if you feel like it, play the fake piano in your hands with your hand.
Just always check for how many fingers you have. That's the moral to the story.
Yes. So good luck sleeping.
Good luck sleeping, y'all.